because I don't want my daughter doing that. That's not her role in my life. I want to enjoy my time with her, having fun, doing fun things. I don't want her to be my caregiver or my house cleaner or my chauffeur or one who changed my diapers when that time may come.
Oh yeah, I've got 6 sons. None of them are changing my diapers. For sure. No. In fact, I told them all, you're never going to bathe me.
And believe me, they've expressed that they don't want to do it either.
Did you plan for this, or did you miss when life demands answers you can't dismiss? Will you be ready when the trumpet blows? Do you have the blueprint for life's unknowns?
At 73, Meredith had always been the matriarch of her family, the one who held everyone together. She was a vibrant woman with a dazzling smile, but now, as she sat in her dimly lit living room, squinting at dusty documents, she felt bone tired. The family portrait on the wall seemed to gaze back at her, a reminder of the love she had built over decades. Since Dave, her husband, passed away 3 years ago, Meredith felt the walls of her world closing in. His death was a shock. They were co-owners on everything they had, and she filled out paperwork to start receiving distributions from his IRA, but that was all she felt she could do. His name was still on the phone and utility bills, and she liked this, as it made her feel like he was still here. Sometimes she called his cell number to hear his voice on his outgoing message and to hear his special ringtone for her, because of course she still had his phone. She kept his bed nightstand exactly as he had left it, with his cell charging next to his watch. She knew she needed to address some difficult conversations about her estate, who would inherit the house filled with memories, the jewelry that at once sparkled on her fingers, and the modest savings account that felt even more modest with each passing day. Yet the thought paralyzed her. She had noticed herself repeating things, feeling forgetful and confused in otherwise routine situations. What if she was losing her grip? Did others notice these changes? One evening, her daughter, Eliza, dropped by for tea. As they sat together, Meredith sensed this was the moment to broach the subject, but her heart dropped at the prospect of the conversation. It made her feel as though she was admitting defeat to time itself. Eliza, I've been thinking about the house, she finally managed to say, her voice wavering slightly. Eliza's gaze sharpened. Mom, are you okay? We can talk about anything. But Meredith couldn't voice her fears. The fears of becoming a burden, of being perceived as frail or incapable. She wasn't ready for Eliza's pity. What if Eliza wanted to start bossing her around? Instead, Meredith changed the topic, laughing about a shared memory and masking the deep-seated anxiety that gripped her. Yet the thought lingered long after Eliza left, that Meredith had no clear plan, no solid will to dictate her wishes. Without action, chaos was inevitable, and it haunted her evenings.
That story is so pertinent to today as the baby boomers are reaching 80 years of age, growing up with the idea that they're still 39 years old and just unwilling to give up what they believe is control.
But it's so hard too, right? Because you keep getting letters with his name on it, or you're still hoping he'll come home. So there's a lot of feelings about this. And the thing is that I sense that Eliza was really willing. But here's the most important thing I can share with you about this, Ron. Honestly, we get to have whatever we want. We get to have it. We have to ask for it. We have to hire somebody maybe to write it down and put it in such a way that it has legal power. We have to decide. And when you don't decide, that's actually a decision. So I would want Meredith, if I were talking to Meredith right now, I would say, Eliza's ready for these conversations. Why don't you ask Eliza some questions and let Eliza ask you questions rather than feel like you have to burden anyone?
If you were Eliza, fearing that your mom was probably maybe losing some cognitive ability, would you bring, because again, there's conflict mother-daughter. don't treat me. I mean, this is my personal story with my own father.
Oh, share that.
His comments were, his brain was totally there, but his body parts were failing, continually. And he lived in a 2-story home, and he would not put in a chair lift on the stairs to help him go up and down the stairs. And his comment to me was, don't treat me like a child. I know what I'm doing. His ego, he wouldn't let me go there with him. So to bring in a third-party expert or a third-party mediator almost to allow that conversation to start, is that something you see in your practice?
I wish I did, Ron. I wish more people would invest the time and the energy to maybe work with a third party, whether that's a therapist, an attorney, a CPA, a financial advisor, a professional fiduciary. It's so hard, right? But one way I got to have the conversation was a daughter who was probably in her late 50s, told me about her dad and that she struggled to have these conversations with him because she was working on her own estate plan. And that's why she had called me. And how does she get her 80-plus-year-old dad on board to have the conversation? And I said, why don't you tell him that you're vetting me? Why don't you tell him that in your exploration of getting your own estate plan done, that you've come across this thing about professional trustees, that you're wary and you are not sure, and you'd like his wisdom. And she did it. We set up an appointment. I ended up going to his home. And of course, I was meeting her at his house, and we were talking about her stuff. But he got interested, and we had a really great conversation. He didn't name me necessarily, but it doesn't matter about me at all. It matters that he got a chance to kind of see what this looks like. So for adult children who are concerned about their parents, and by the way, you are welcome to click below, subscribe, comment. We'd love your comments. We'd love you to participate in our community at planforthis.com. The way I see it is that if you're an adult child concerned about your elder parents, you have to get your own estate plan done first. You have to get your own oxygen mask on your face on an airplane so you can help somebody else. You don't know the feelings that are involved until you do it. And they're very enriching feelings. I really felt the love swell my heart when I got my own estate plan done. Because why am I doing this? I'm not doing it because of the transaction. I'm not doing it to save money or taxes or anything like that. I'm doing it so that I don't blow up my kids' lives when I die. And I'm going to eventually, and this will probably get played back somehow, at my death. I'm saying it. I did plan for the idea that someday I will die. And just knowing that I've planned for that, I'm so much more relaxed in a lot of the conversations I have with my kids. Here, we see Eliza was ready. Meredith tested the waters. Her kid said, let's talk. We can talk about anything, Mom. Like Eliza's been waiting for Mom to bring it up. And then what did Meredith do? She backed out. She
shut it down.
Yeah.
Can Meredith push a little bit on the idea of rather than, let's not talk about dying. Let's not talk about passing away. Let's talk about incapacity.
Well, I think it's normal for people to be forgetful. I want to say out loud that if you're grieving, and it doesn't matter if it's 3 months, 3 years, or 30 years, grief has its own effect on your way of being. I get that. But I would say 3 years after your loved one has passed away, it might be okay for you to ask for a little help. I think Eliza would have been willing to help Meredith go through all of the accounts and maybe the cell phone and maybe some other things to figure out what of Dave's life needs to be completed now. Because here's the thing, completion is the point, right? So Meredith has a duty to complete things for Dave because he can't. And it hurts her to think about the fact that he's gone, but to finish things for him is an act of love. And sometimes we need help to do the act of love. Then we can talk about the capacity issues, because just forgetting your keys or not remembering where you parked the car, that's not dementia, people. That's just us being so busy. We're just so busy.
Where's the phone?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's why it's right here. If you're wondering why I have my phone right next to me, it's because it has become my security blanket. I get that.
So there's so many issues that come up with this that we hear about all the time, where Eliza may have a sibling.
Let's say she does. But clearly Eliza's the one that comes over for tea. Eliza's the child today that is with mom today. So I have a dear friend of mine. She runs her own business in Los Angeles. She's very busy, entrepreneurial, always has extra irons in the fire, a sister to my heart, right? And her mom's care is managed by a group of siblings. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. These siblings take turns. They pick things up for mom. They deliver to mom. Everyone drops in on mom. Everyone reports to each other about how mom's doing. Mom is 88 or 89 years old. What a lovely thing that her 5 kids all pay attention to her needs on some level. And they're all helping at the level they can. And you know there's the bossy one. And you know there's the one who complains all the time. And you know there's the sibling that probably has borrowed money from mom in the past, okay? Every family has its stuff. But what an elevation it is to set aside the stuff. And if Thursday's your day, you're there. That's a beautiful thing. Well, that takes somebody to coordinate that. It takes somebody to suggest it. Maybe you have to go slow at first because mom is afraid of asking for your help. She doesn't want to be unloved by you.
I like the idea of you had that client that the daughter brought you in to meet the father.
Yeah.
I love that idea, and I've suggested that to clients that I've dealt with. Is sometimes little white lies are necessary to get at least the first base to have open up the conversation. You may bring in a professional fiduciary or a care manager, introducing that person as your associate, your friend, whatever, to start that assessment. I mean, you're not conning, you're just trying to get the first base to open up the conversation, to get some independent verification of what you're thinking so you can have an intelligent conversation with mom.
We're really hoping that this show does that for people. I mean, wouldn't it be great if a family was able to listen to this show together and then talk about it? And I recognize we're opening up dark doorways, right? Anything could happen beyond this conversation. But I will say that it's so important to have the conversation that it's worth the risk. It's better to find out now that that child is not available to take care of you and start looking at other resources. And Ron, I want to say, you've developed such an expertise and an understanding of what you're seeing and what's going on. And I just want to touch on the frustration that when your own parent doesn't see you as the expert that other people do. And I think your dad lost some freedom and some mobility and some possibility because he didn't hear you out. He wasn't able to receive what you had to deliver. And I can really feel that.
Well, it's frustrating. You're right. Thank you. It's it's been almost a decade, and I still, obviously you can tell, it still bothers me that the way he left this earth was in a great deal of pain.
Oh.
And because his mind, and his mind was, he was still telling stories and cracking jokes with the nurses literally the night before he passed away, and he had all kinds of plans, and so that he wouldn't take on that idea of how to enjoy life better while he was on earth is hurtful.
Let's talk about that definition that each of us has of what does in charge mean? What does that mean? I was watching an episode of a favorite show, and one character said, your wife and my wife, they're real ball busters, right? And he goes, oh, that's my wife and daughter you're talking about. Right. But in that conversation, what those two men decided was these small women, petite as they were, are kind of in charge. They want to please them. They want these women to love them and to be happy, right? Happy wife, happy life. We heard that all the time.
Right.
But who's actually in charge of your estate plan? Who's actually in charge of how you die, how you live until you die? Who's in charge of that? Well, if you say and you speak up in terms of what you want, and I'm going back to Meredith here for a moment, right? If you speak your wishes, if you say, my husband died here in this home, I'm staying in this home until I die, whether you hope to meet him in heaven or you hope for anything else that is really important to you, that's got to be in your documents. Because there are exceptions, right? If you're writhing in pain, home may not be the best place for you. Maybe temporarily we get your pain managed in a hospital and we get you back because we know that's where you want to be. Even if you couldn't say the words again, you said them in your documents, which makes them the law.
So by Meredith saying nothing,
you get nothing when you say nothing.
She's opening up herself to the whims of Eliza may have the best, intentions, but it's not what Meredith wants.
Well, that's just it. Does Eliza have any authority? Will Eliza ever be in charge? So let's also talk about independence, because here's the thing. And here's a little thought experiment for all of you to talk about with your book club, with your friends, and so on. What makes you feel more independent? By having a housekeeper come clean your house? Or by having your daughter come clean your house? Which makes you feel more independent? Ron, do you have an answer to that question? Which makes you feel more independent? Housekeeper or daughter?
Housekeeper.
Why?
Because I don't want my daughter doing that. That's not her role in my life. I want to enjoy my time with her, having fun, doing fun things. I don't want her to be my caregiver or my house cleaner or my chauffeur or one who changed my diapers when that time may come.
Oh yeah, I've got 6 sons. None of them are changing my diapers. For sure. No. In fact, I told them all, you're never going to bathe me.
And believe me, they've expressed that they don't want to do it either.
Right? I get that. No, there's a role for a professional, but here's an idea I'd like you to think about. The reason that having a housekeeper makes us feel more independent is, one, we can fire her if we don't like her work, right? And we don't really care too much about what her opinion is of how we have things or where things are. She would never presume to shop our house. Okay, so having a daughter be your housekeeper has certain limitations to it, right? So a lot of us can already feel that in our bodies, right? You can feel it in your body. Oh, I don't think I like that. That's a very important feeling to pay attention to. Now let's talk about interdependence, because the fact is none of us built the car we're driving. None of us made the clothes we're wearing. Oh, there may be some exceptions.
Some of us, yeah.
If you're an exception, you can comment below. I appreciate that. But I want to say that, each of us makes our life, but the fact is we're interdependent with each other to make a good life. And you have to figure out, if you're the CEO of your life, what jobs are you granting to other people? What are you expecting them to do? And an unexpressed expectation doesn't happen.
That was a nugget right there. CEO of your life.
Yes.
I think if Eliza's having maybe if I would approach my dad, because he was a business entrepreneurial guy, right? He was always in business for himself. Dad, you are the CEO. Bob, you are the CEO of your life. I'm your chief financial, I'm whatever I'm a role you want, a chief marketing officer. I'm going to market your life in the sense of I want to make it a better life. Here's an idea. Why don't you take it to the board being all the family members, and make a decision. So I love the idea of you being this. Meredith, you are the CEO. Eliza, you're the assistant. Or how do we make this a great company?
Right. Are you a partner? Are you so if you think about a couple, typically one member of the couple is the bill payer in the family. The other might be the kin keeper, the one who keeps everyone in touch. That's kind of what we learned about Dave and Meredith, right? Is that Dave was probably taking care of everything. And that's why his name is on the utilities. By the way, I struggled to get a library card because my name was not on the utility bill. But we fixed that.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure the mayor or whatever town that took place in is heard from it.
Yeah. So I think it's very important that as a couple, while you're both healthy, while you're alive, even if you've only been married a couple of years, that you have kind of a conversation about expectations. If I'm the one who has to take over the bill paying at home, where do you keep stuff? How will I find it? And I recognize that you might be stepping on someone's toes, or it feels like you are. But here's what you're really doing. You're saying, I'm willing to be your backup plan. I'm willing to pick up where you left off so that we can stay together as long as possible. I really love you, and I really want this to work. And so as a kid approaching an elder, you could say, Dad, you are the CEO, and I'm happy to do what you want me to do, but you're going to have to tell me what that is. And I'm going to have to see your stuff, and I'm going to have to know what's going on. If that makes you uncomfortable, let's get a professional in here, and I'm happy to be your agent for healthcare if you want me to be. And by the way, if you're looking for what the documents generally are and what the roles are and how that stuff works, visit us at planforthis.com. We have some really great information for you. Again, this is not legal advice. We're not offering estate plans. We're not offering trustee services. We don't want you to hire us. That's not what we're looking for. What we do want is for you to learn enough so that you're empowered to be a good CEO of your life.
And we hear so many times where the daughter, Eliza, Mom, I'm moving in. Talk about that.
Oh, okay. So I really want Meredith to be a choice about that, because Meredith lives in a Dave bubble. Okay. And I can relate to myself on this, because if my husband wasn't immediately available to me, I might want to go to his part of the closet and do my crying on his jacket. I mean, that's, I've had a client actually that we moved from her longtime home after her husband had passed away. And when we moved her into the beautiful residence, that we moved his closet exactly as it was, the contents of his closet into the because it was designed for a couple, and that was her safe place. She could smell him. So if that's important to you, if that's something that you think you'd want, you have to protect it a little bit. You have to speak up, and you have to say that you want that. And so, from Eliza's perspective, it seems to me, just by her questions, she said, Mom, are you okay? We can talk about anything. That's an open door. And Meredith could have said, I'm not sure I'm ready to talk about everything, but I know at some point I'm going to have to deal with the reality that Dad is gone. Just that door opening. But here's the thing that Eliza must prevent herself from doing, and that is taking charge too soon. We don't take charge until someone has given us the job. And we might have to interview for that job. And you might have to explain how you can put Mom's needs first before your own. Okay, don't worry about the stuff in the house. It's not yours. Don't worry about Mom's money. It's not yours. The most important thing you can do for Mom is to say, Mom, do you want to talk to an attorney? Do you want to get your funeral stuff set up? Dad died so suddenly, we didn't know what he wanted, but I'd really like to know what you want. That's a really great place to start.
And that's so being a great advocate for Eliza and Meredith. And I would just, again, I'm going to go to the point where if there's siblings and Eliza does all these things and does them eloquently and does them well, Eliza, just be careful you don't start taking money out of the checking account and things like that.
Oh boy. Okay. So it's
fraught with peril.
Right.
And we're trying to help Eliza be that, do what Mom wants.
Right. And now what Mom wants, we also have to make sure is in Mom's best interest. And that's a really tricky thing too. And this is another reason why you might want to include a professional in your discussion, whether that's an attorney or a fiduciary or Mom's financial advisor, some third party that Mom trusts enough to have some of this conversation with. Mom may not have any of these professionals in her life. That's also possible. And we have some really great interview questions when you're looking for professionals, just so you can protect yourself and kind of know what you're in for. And I also strongly suggest that when you interview one professional, interview 3. And use the same questions in the same order so that when you look at your notes, you can compare apples to apples. And that's part of what we teach at planforthis.com. So, in terms of having this conversation and preparing, Eliza has to know what a fiduciary is. right? She has to know that means putting Meredith's needs before Eliza's needs. This is a very clear and careful thing. And I have a book, Ethics for Trustees 2.0, that you can read about ethics. There's lots of information at planforthis.com. No more excuses. No more getting away with it. No more trying to pull a fast one. No more trying to pay your own bills with mom's money, because darn it, it's mom's money, not your money. And we have to have clear black lines. Why? Because we're talking about inheritance. Right? If you were helping yourself to mom's money before she died, there's going to be a lot less for everyone else, right? And maybe that's your hope. Maybe you finally get to have the biggest piece of cake, or you finally get to have the new socks. Oh my gosh, some of the stories I've heard from people, the resentments we carry until we're 75 or 80 years old. So I just want to say there's a lot here. Please ask for help. Please don't go in here alone.
And then I've heard the story. I have to do, the Eliza side of the equation. It's unsafe for mom to be living in that home, driving, living alone. It's a danger. It's a health risk. How do you weave that? Okay.
So I'm coaching Eliza right now, and I'm saying, do not make assumptions. Do not make any medical diagnoses. Do not make any mental health diagnoses without a professional involved. If you're concerned about mom, ask mom if she's willing to get checked out, right? Mom doesn't want to be taken advantage of. Nobody wants mom taken advantage of. But to presume that mom's not able to drive because you rode with her in the car once and you didn't like her driving, don't you remember being 16? She didn't like your driving. So the point I'm making is that, before we assume about somebody else's capability, let's get some science in there. Let's get some data in there. Now, if mom's unwilling to be examined by a doctor, there may be other gentler ways. I like introducing a care manager. Here's the logic. And by the way, you can find professionals at Aging Life Care Association, caremanager.org. But the idea is that you find a care manager to introduce. Why? Because wouldn't it be great to have a baseline? Wouldn't it be great to know what normal is? Because by the way, normal is different for everyone. My normal might be different than your normal. That's how it should be, right? But now we have a professional who's asking those questions, not Eliza. We have a third-party professional with a medical background who understands how this goes and has served hundreds of clients, because Eliza only has one. And Eliza's opinion might hurt her mom's feelings. And then what happens with the communication, and how do we go forward? So I just want everyone to know you are sovereign. This is your life you're living. You don't want your parents telling you how to live your life. Your parents don't want you to tell them how to live their life. But we have this opportunity at this juncture where Meredith was willing to have a little bit of conversation with Eliza. Eliza opened the door. Eliza has some homework to do, and she can do it at planforthis.com.
That's exactly. Eliza, there's probably a checklist on planforthis.com that she can use.
That's a great idea, Ron.
To open up that door. So I just added some more homework to the Plan for This. So subscribe, give us your feedback, give us your comments. We really want to hear from you. We know this story is out there every day, and it's not going away. It's only growing with the population as we all age. We hope we are all aging, right? So before we finish up this conversation, we talked about titling of the real estate and titling of the assets.
Yeah, we did. You know what? Let's use the Dave and Meredith example that we have right here. Let's say Dave was the bill payer in the family, and Dave was really taking care of those things, right? When Dave and Meredith first got married, first got together, they may have purchased a house. Maybe he got a VA loan, or he got some other kind of wonderful way to be able to buy their first home. And it might have made sense at that time that the property is in his name. Maybe it's in their names as husband and wife. And now he's gone. Meredith actually has to go back to the county that she lives in and inform them that the owner of the house has passed and now she's the owner of the house. There may be paperwork cleanup. There may be some things. Why? Why would we bother, right? Why wouldn't we just wait till Meredith dies to do that? Well, because chain of title is important. Just like I mentioned earlier, that when we're talking about inheritance, we want the lines to be clean. We want to know what was there before and then what is being distributed. With property, it's the same thing. How did Dave and Meredith acquire their property? Was it theirs to give away? Was it theirs to make an inheritance for someone else? And if you're not sure about title, then that's when it's good to talk with an attorney, or at least start with the assessor's office so you know what the grant deed says. A lot of people have never seen their own grant deed. Even when they got a loan, they may have forgotten what that was like or what that paperwork looks like.
Nobody's reading all that.
Yeah. So I want to say that one of the blessings of getting your estate plan done is that this gets dug into. The attorney is going to look up the address of your home and is going to determine who owns the house based on what it says on the deed. In your estate planning process, that's a natural place to update the deed. Now Meredith goes to the attorney and she says, my husband has died. The attorney asks for that death certificate. That attorney makes sure that an affidavit of change of trustee, maybe they had a trust, maybe they didn't, those things get cleaned up. And now you're going forward with a clean slate with a complete, clear idea of what you have and where it is and how it's titled and how it's owned and maybe what your income is and so on. I have to tell you, Ron, when I first went to my estate planning attorney, I came as a pauper. I came as somebody who thought of herself as being poor. And I presented my meager belongings. I took a picture of the inside of the trailer. This is what I did, okay? And I showed what little I had, but what she showed me is I actually had more than I thought I did.
Yep.
And it was so empowering to leave that place knowing that I did have something to leave for my kids. I felt more of a person because now look at me. I have an estate plan. That's how it felt.
And to follow up on the chain of title, if you are a second or third spouse and that home that you think you're on title to has been in the family history for 40, 50, 60, sometimes 70 years, and it was first obtained by your spouse's family members, and your spouse has been married, divorced, and you think that when your spouse passes away, you're going to have clear title to sell that property, the odds are highly improbable that it's going to go smoothly. So email, send in your questions to us. If you have that situation, you don't have to give all your information to us in sense of full name.
Yeah, don't give us any details. We just want the story part.
Just the story, and we will bring it up and address it and help you. We're not attorneys. We're not giving legal advice, but we can tell you to go what a real estate attorney is probably the best, and maybe an estate planning attorney. You may have to do dual representation there. Well,
here's the other thing too. Okay, so this is such a great point you make, Ron. So I have dear friends, and it's his house. She moves into his house, right? And doesn't ask any of those questions. I mean, when you first move in together, you're still testing the waters and figuring it out.
You're still every room.
And if you're a grown-up, you've got your own life and you're trying to figure out how your new life with this person that you've just fallen in love with, how does this all fit together? Are we going to make it work, right? And then you decide, oh, maybe we'll get married. And you do. But being married doesn't give you rights to everything. And you can assume that, but it's just not true. And living together for a long time also does not give you any rights to someone's stuff. So you are living on a trampoline. Okay? You're bouncing along. Things are okay. But one person gets out of step, it could really mess things up on the trampoline, right? So since you're in this together, it might be good to ask, how is this titled? Just in case something happens to you, what happens to me? If something happens to me, what happens to you? Let's have that conversation. Oh, and I suggest go away for the weekend. Go do something beautiful with the intention that we're going to talk about this stuff Maybe make a list. Maybe check out our new checklist on planforthis.com because I will have one for you. I will have a list for you of things to talk about with your
But I'll
intended.
add to that, if you say to your spouse or partner, how is this titled? It needs to be a deep dive into the history. So take a trip together to the county recorder's office, the assessor's office, and get the history. And then we can have that great conversation where, nope, sorry, it's not going to work, or great, everything is copacetic, and you can then, if something happens, you have no problem selling that property.
Yeah, I can feel the tension just from our audience.
Right.
I can feel the, I don't know if I could do it. But I want to assure you that for yourself, for your inside self, for that person that's in that constant monologue in your head, you need to make things right. You need to assure your inner self that you're the advocate for you.
Meredith, advocate for yourself. Eliza, I think you're doing great opening up the door of conversation.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ron. Independent Trustee Alliance is a proud nonprofit sponsor of Plan for This. If you are considering serving as a trustee, please visit trusteealliance.com to learn more about this complex and sometimes overwhelming job. trusteealliance.com. Plan for This thanks the Estate Sale Warehouse for all their amazing service and support. Entire home cleanouts, inventory, appraisal, auctions, sale of fine art and classic cars. Learn more at statesalewarehouse.com. Hey, Ron, we have a Plan Fan story. So as you know, you have to subscribe at planforthis.com in order to be able to submit your story. And we really want the story. And this one is about dating at 55.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I was only that. I wish. No. I'm happy with the age I'm at.
So, here's basically how the story goes. Dear Marguerite and Ron, I have recently gotten divorced. It's been a couple of years. I'm ready to get back in the game. How can I date effectively and safely and make sure that I don't end up with another guy like my last husband?
Okay, Marguerite, I'm going to put that on you. And I'll tell you a story after that, your answer to that.
No, I'm really curious about what you're going to say about it.
Well, gosh, I'm going to go there because it's just one of my favorite, all about my mom. I
met your mom.
I know. I've shared this. Maybe I've shared this story with you before.
Oh, please. Everyone will want to hear it.
But God love her. She passed away 2015. So this was the 10-year anniversary of it. And it's still hard to believe because you met her. She was 84 years young.
Firecracker.
I mean, she literally could outpace anybody of any age all day long because she was up in the morning, full makeup, full dress. I was the heir. Her
gorgeous, well-spoken, charming.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So she had lost her third husband. And again, very much like the story of where it was devastation because he just didn't wake up.
Oh.
No, this wasn't not planned for that part of her life.
Yeah.
Devastation. It was just an incredible third marriage and they were so happy together and it was really tough. So he died several years, maybe like 10 years before she passed away. So again, as a son, I want to see her happy. I want to see her out dating. Now, again, she's in her 70s when we're having this conversation. So at that point, I had reunited with Linda, my much better half. And we're going over to my mom's house to have dinner, and we're trying to set her up on this date through somebody I know. He's in his late 70s, early 80s. He's been married a couple of times as well. And in front of Linda, who was new in a newer relationship and knew my mom, but still I'm still, going that new relationship status with Linda. My mom, and I'm talking about, meeting this gentleman, and she goes, Ron, son, they don't even get the wine on the table before they bring out the blue pill and want to go to sleep with me. This is my mom talking. And I'm going, OMG, OMG. And she goes, the follow-up, she goes, Linda, the last thing I want to do is wake up to some wrinkly old dude next to me in my bed. No, enough is enough. So that was her attitude of dating in her late 70s.
Well, first of all, let me empathize with finding out that your mom has sex. Okay, because I get that could be kind of disturbing. But the fact is, we're in kind of an ageist environment, okay? And it's very likely and very possible and lovely if you're living a vibrant, healthy life and you get to have fun with people that you meet. Please guard yourself against STDs anyway. But I think I can really relate to your mom's attitude because it was so heartbreaking, this last loss, right? And it's hard to get back in the game when you've had a loss like that. And I'm also speaking to anybody 30 to 100 years old, right? Contemplating romance, contemplating marriage, and so on. It's a lot to think about. But we mustn't do it without this phrase. And this phrase comes from my stepmom, Jane Lorenz, okay? And what she taught me is this: we must plan our exit as we enter. We don't know what the exit is going to be exactly. And maybe a prenuptial agreement is an appropriate thing. That's for you and your attorney to talk about. But to be open with your kids that you have a vibrant life, that you have a vivid life, that you're enjoying it with other people is important. It's good for them to be at least aware. Like, don't drop in at my house. You better call first because I might be busy. So that's part of that. But the other part of it is that companionship is really important in a human life. We got to have friends. We got to have people to laugh with. We need each other. To really live a good life. And so though it sounds logical, I've already paid for the house, there's no more mortgage, I might as well stay here. I've got the utilities under control. I finally got solar. I'm good, right? But you're isolated and you're alone. And that was part of the concern we had in our previous story about Eliza and Meredith, right? There might be some concern about mom being alone. Well, alone is not the same thing as lonely. And there are devices. We have it on our wrists. We can have it in a necklace. We can make them beautiful. But the function is that we're not entirely alone, that if something happened to us, someone would know. Well, there's another level. You don't want just someone to know if the tragedy has happened. You want someone to engage with, laugh with, have a good time with. So think about that as you start planning for the rest of your life, that you might actually want to be in a social environment. So you don't have to date. You don't have to wake up next to somebody you don't want to. You don't have to do those things, but you really might want to be able to have some fun.
I can't speak to that point in the sense of I've helped a lot of seniors who have lost a loved one move to a senior community. And that socialization that they do get from that and meeting someone who they can share the rest of their lives with is so important. I am so opposed to the isolation that too many people choose to live with and say, well, this is my destiny, or this is old age. This is old age.
Yeah.
And so if you're the daughter or son of somebody aging who has that kind of attitude, you really need to help them. I am not saying that you have to move to a senior community. I'm not saying that, but there are so many ways to get people into your mom and dad's home, or that mom and dad to go to a senior community center or something where they're engaging, and you will see a change. Again, they may resist at the beginning, just like Eliza is trying to open up that conversation. You really need to open up the conversation of socialization, because isolation is the prelude to the downfall of one's life.
Right. Loneliness is terrible. But I want to go back to our Plan Fans question about dating at 55. Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. It was great. And thank you for reminding me of Marilyn. What a character. What a wonderful woman. So my approach is that don't have sex right away. The hookup is fine. That's the easy part, in my opinion. The tough thing is to say, oh no, I'm dating because I'm looking for a real companion. I'm looking for someone I can trust. And if I wanted that, I would have said yes to that, but then I would never talk to you again. So if you want to talk to me again, we're going to date. Date means we do activities together to learn each other and to see if we want to spend more time together. That's what it's for. To my husband's credit, he was very gracious when on the third date, I asked if I could see his tax return and I would show him mine because he's an amazing human. But I've already been burned. I've already had those experiences. And a tax return reveal is kind of a big deal. You might want to wait till the 6th date or the 10th. I don't know. It's up to you. But you don't have to say yes to anything that isn't the full package. And I just want to say for both men and women, finding love at 20 is not the same as finding love as a mature adult who has stuff and kids and a life and things that we've built together. You have to figure out how we can each be independent and be together. And that's the other big thing that I would say a revelation of finding successful relationship as a mature person is that he's going to want to do his thing. That's wonderful. He should do his thing. You should do your thing. We don't need to change someone entirely to have them be in our lives, but both of us have to adapt. And the way my mom would describe it is we do some of this. We rub off the edges so we can fit together, but we each are our own person.
Right. You're set in your ways. And again, the idea of 20s, you're still changing each other. And again, I'm not advising that for sure. Been down that path unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
So you're in your own space, you're in your own, and embrace each other for their differences. And that's what's going to make for a great relationship as we age, and any marital advice or living together advice. So yeah, I love that. I love that approach to it of, find that person who you can really click with.
Well, yeah. I mean, don't we want to be best friends with the person that we sleep with? I mean, that, it just makes sense to me. So everyone, you have your own way of being. I love that we find love in whatever sense we can. And whether you're in a polyamorous group, if you're one-on-one, doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter any of that. What matters is your heart and your safety and really feeling like you can be you with this other person. And if you're putting it on for dating, that's okay. Date, have a good time, go out in the world and enjoy yourself. Be safe, enjoy everything. But when you're really trying to find the one, you got to be you, because that's how you find the other people who are in your tribe. You share your vibe. That's how it works.
Well, thank you for that submittal of that question. I think you answered it eloquently.
Thank you.
And I hope they will take your advice. And I'll just say, go play pickleball.
Yeah, it's a great way to meet people. It is. It's awesome.
But stretch first, okay?
Yeah, please.
The orthopedic physicians are just cleaning up. So please stretch and do not run backwards. And then you will maybe find that person, because pickleball is great because you can be competitive you don't have to be competitive with it. It can just be fun. So anyway, that's my little thing.
All right. Thank you. Hope to see you on the court.
Vibes.